The government office was raided by bandits, and I was forced to flee to the outskirts. In the dead of night, when a pack of wolves suddenly attacked, Jiang Mingqi rushed to my rescue. He brought me back to the medical clinic for shelter. A year after our marriage, I gave birth to his child, but the child passed away within an hour. He looked at me apologetically. The plague is rampant, no one can escape it. We will have children in the future. I was already weak from childbirth, and upon hearing the news, I bled to death. After my death, I learned that my child had not died naturally. He had used my child's life to test a medicine to cure the Song family's daughter, who was infected with the plague. When I woke up again, I found myself back on that night. This time, I bravely charged into the wolf pack. The person before me was more terrifying than a wolf. What are you doing? Come here quickly. Jiang Mingqi held a torch, driving the wolves away. Seeing me running in the opposite direction, he frowned and shouted to stop me. But I did not turn back. I only knew that if I were saved by the person behind me, it would be better to die here in this desolate wilderness tonight. In my previous life, a group of bandits invaded the mansion in the dead of night. They killed everyone in sight and plundered the family's possessions. My mother risked her life to protect me and helped me escape. I fled to this desolate mountain range, thinking I was safe. Exhaustion overcame me, and I fell into a deep sleep. When I was awakened, the wolves were creeping toward me. At the critical moment, Jiang Mingqi appeared like a god from the heavens. He drove away the wolves and quickly took me away. After being saved, he took me to his family's medical clinic. Both of us were born into families of doctors. We had been engaged since we were children. When we reached marriageable age, he told me he had fallen in love with another woman, Ming Yue. I should have kept my promise and married you. But I am deeply in love with that Song family's daughter, and we cannot part ways in this lifetime. Love is the most unreasonable thing in this world. You will grant me this wish, won't you? Having said this, even though I had loved him for years, I could only nod silently. In my eyes, love can be about staying together forever, or it can be about stepping back to let the other go. After he saved me, I simply stayed quietly in his medical hut to work for him. I waited, hoping that after he married that Song family maiden, Song Qingran, I could bid farewell and leave. The hidden, obscure feelings of love were suppressed deep within me. He had protected me since childhood, and now he had saved my life. I could not allow my selfish desires to stand in the way of his happiness. At that time, I sincerely believed that even if I could just catch a glimpse of him, it would be a blessing. But later, I didn't hear any news about him marrying Song Qingran. All I knew was that the elaborate wedding procession on the street that day was the display of wealth by the richest family in the city to welcome Song Qingran. Jiang Mingqi disappeared for an entire day. Even after nightfall, he was still nowhere to be found. When I went out to look for him, he was already drunk and lying by the riverbank. When I helped him up, he was mumbling Qingran's name. I pretended not to notice and helped him back to the bed. As I was about to leave, he suddenly stood up and hugged me. I am Ming Yue, not Qingran. My voice was so soft it was almost inaudible. If he had mistaken me for Song Qingran, would I have had a brief moment that belonged to him? But I couldn't bear to be a substitute. I could only say my own name, as if trying to deceive myself. I told him who I was. Jiang Mingqi's eyes gradually cleared. He gave a self-deprecating smile and let go of me. So I mocked my own baseness, trying to confuse myself with that Song Qingran, just to seek a night of love that wasn't meant for me. I stood up to leave. He grabbed my wrist. Ming Yue, in this world, are you the only one who will never leave me? My heart softened in that instant. I firmly told him my answer. As long as you say so, I will never leave you. He held my hand and fell into a deep sleep. By dawn, I had been lying by the bed all night and felt as though my legs weren't even my own. But seeing his relaxed expression, I felt there was no happier moment than this. After that night, nothing seemed to change between us. Life went on as usual. I would wait for him at the door after he finished his rounds and immediately hand him a bowl of cool tea. The herbs he treasured most, he would only entrust to me to handle. We never spoke of the forever we had spoken of that night. Until one ordinary evening, as I was grinding herbs for him, he stood in the shadows and called out to me softly. Mingyue, the 6th day of next month is a good day. Will you marry me? I couldn't see his expression, but I heard his voice clearly. So I spoke softly. I will. I thought that after losing all my loved ones, I would finally have a home. But I never imagined that this home had never belonged to me. Thinking of this, I quickened my pace in the opposite direction. Jiang Qiming behind me seemed to try to rush over and take me away. But the wolf pack had split into 2 groups, charging toward him. He was already in no position to help me. I had no choice but to leave in a hurry. I ran as fast as I could. But how could I outrun a pack of wild wolves? At the moment of life and death, I caught a glimpse of a narrow path out of the corner of my eye. It was narrow and winding, and even if those beasts had the greatest abilities, they would likely not be able to squeeze through. So I immediately dived in. The wolves behind me howled furiously, trying to squeeze in, but their bodies were too large. The first wolf got stuck halfway in, blocking the rest behind it. Thorns tore at my face, but I didn't care. I just kept running forward with all my might. I dared not stop. I couldn't stop, until I finally emerged from the narrow path. The surrounding area was deathly quiet. I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath, feeling as though every ounce of strength had been drained from my body. The howling sounds had ceased. I thought I was safe. As I fell, I accidentally caught sight of a pair of green eyes in the bushes. I didn't know which clever wolf had arrived at the exit ahead of me. I knew something was wrong and pretended not to notice, turning my face away. Then I gathered my strength and got up to run. The wolf's movements were faster than mine, and it leaped out of the darkness toward me. Fortunately, the distance wasn't too great. It failed to knock me down with a single blow. Its sharp claws only scratched my back. A sharp pain shot through me, and I fell to the ground in agony. I gritted my teeth and tried to get up, but the wound on my back and my exhausted body wouldn't allow me to move any further. The wolf seemed to know that I had reached my limit. It no longer rushed, instead leisurely enjoying the torment of its prey. It circled around me several times, occasionally lowering its head to sniff me. I trembled all over, curling up on the ground and hugging myself tightly. What is the meaning of life? In my previous life, I died unjustly. Now, even with a second chance, I'm still facing certain death from the start. Is this really how I'm going to die? After toying with me, the wolf finally lost patience. It growled softly and slowly approached me. I instinctively closed my eyes. I waited for my inevitable fate. The agonizing pain I had imagined did not come. If I didn't get up, even if the wolf didn't eat me, I would freeze to death in the cold mountain forest at night. A clear voice rang out, and I slowly opened my eyes. When a person is in extreme fear, their brain reacts more slowly. I gritted my teeth, pushed myself up with my palms, and slowly stood up. The wolf had been shot through the heart with an arrow and lay lifeless on the ground. The speaker stood on horseback, wearing a mask, and I couldn't see his face clearly. Behind him, not far away, there was a flickering light, likely from a group of people. He examined me for a moment, his eyes pausing briefly on the exposed part of my face. Are you injured? I bit my lower lip, grateful for his life-saving act. It's nothing. Thank you for saving me, sir. His tone was cold. There's no need to thank me. I wasn't here on purpose to save you. I just happened to come across you. He frowned, looking down at me from above. You're a woman. Why were you out in the wilderness at midnight, having narrowly escaped death? I dared not trust anyone at this moment. I didn't know what awaited me, whether it would be another hellish ordeal. I stared back at him and threw the question back at him. And you? Why are you here? I am the commander of the Imperial Guard. I have a mission tonight, so I happened to pass by here. Imperial Guard? I analyzed in my mind. The Imperial Guard was established by the Emperor this year. Over the years, bandits have been rampaging everywhere. And besides the common people, many prominent families have also suffered at their hands. These bandits are like eels. Once they commit a crime, they flee deep into the mountains. The court has sent many men to pursue them, but all have returned empty-handed. The predecessor of the Imperial Guard was the Imperial Investigation Bureau, established by the previous emperor. Composed of 12 members, it was responsible for investigating difficult cases within the capital. The unspeakable secrets of the noble families were all handled by them. After the previous emperor's death, the 12 members mysteriously disappeared. The supervisory bureau fell into disuse. Now, the emperor has revived it, renaming it the Supervisory Guard, and appointed Liu Changye, the son of Prince Qi who had distinguished himself on the battlefield, as its commander. In addition to handling secret cases within the capital, he was also tasked with capturing the bandits. Therefore, the person before me is a member of the Imperial family. I trembled as I spoke. Is your mission to investigate the case of the Jiang family in the southern medical district being wiped out by bandits? Liu Changye's eyes suddenly grew sharp. He leaped off his horse, drew his sword, and pressed it against my throat. You're deep in the mountains, how do you know about today's case in the city? Appearing here in the middle of the night is already suspicious. And now you know about those bandits. The suspicion in his eyes grew even stronger, and the icy aura emanating from his body was enough to make anyone step back. Speak! What is your connection to those bandits? Did you intentionally set a trap, waiting for my arrival? I only felt fortunate. Everyone says that Liu Changye is ruthless and decisive, a cold-blooded killer. But they also say he is upright and just, with a heart dedicated to saving the world. With my family's case in his hands, it will certainly not be swept under the rug like it was in my previous life. I faced the blade and raised my gaze to meet his. I am Jiang Mingyue, the only daughter of the Jiang family. My father and mother risked their lives to protect me and bring me here, only to be attacked by a pack of wolves. I was fortunate to be saved by you, sir. Thinking of the scene at the mansion, hatred surged in my chest. The wounds on my back kept bleeding. I clenched my teeth and forced myself to stay conscious. Sir, I saw the face of the bandit leader. After forcing out the last words, I collapsed forward uncontrollably. Liu Changye's eyes flashed, and he quickly withdrew the sword pressed against me. I fell straight down, but unexpectedly landed in a strong embrace. In a daze, I was picked up and placed on a horse's back. When I woke up, I found myself in an unfamiliar mansion. A creak came from the door. A maid entered with a tray and was delighted to see me awake. After placing the items on the table, she hurried over to help me up. Miss, you've finally woken up. You've been unconscious for over half a month. Even the imperial physicians from the palace came to check on you. They said if you didn't wake up, you might not have survived. Half a month? I had been unconscious for so long. Having not spoken for so long. My voice was hoarse. Where am I? The maid placed several soft pillows behind my back. But even so, the wound still hurt terribly. She poured me some water while answering my questions. This is the residence of the Minister of Ceremonies. Also the mansion of our young master. The old prince has been stationed at the border and has never resided in the capital. So the original prince's mansion has been vacant. It used to be Liu Changya's mansion. Please drink some water to moisten your throat. The kitchen is preparing medicine. Your injuries are severe, you must rest. I will inform the prince that you have awakened. He has been inquiring about you daily. As the medicine was brought in, Liu Changya arrived in a hurry. Though he was still dressed in his battle attire today, he had removed his mask. I was finally able to see his true face. Liu Changya had indeed returned from the battlefield. His skin was not as delicate as that of the pampered aristocratic youths of the Imperial city, but rather a healthy wheat-colored hue. His brows carried a stern expression. His features were handsome, and he exuded the noble aura of a royal heir. His posture was tall and straight, and the sword at his waist never left his side. I raised my hand and drank the bowl of medicine, its bitterness causing my brows to furrow. Seeing my expression, he paused for a moment. Are you afraid of the bitterness? You're not afraid? His tone softened slightly. I have been trained on the battlefield since childhood. Having seen blood and violence, such a little bit of bitterness is nothing to fear. But seeing how calm you were when facing that ferocious wolf, I thought you were fearless. When one faces life and death, there is nothing to fear. I have never liked taking medicine, especially since I was weak as a child. Every time, my father and mother would go to great lengths to coax me into drinking every last drop of the medicine. I've been learning medicine from my father since I was a child. When I learned how to insert needles, I could endure the pain of the silver needle penetrating 4 inches into my flesh. I practiced on my own hands every day. But every time I had to take medicine, my eyes would fill with tears. My father and mother were heartbroken. After coaxing me to finish the medicine with soft words, they would always put a piece of malt sugar in my mouth. Now, they have died tragically. And I, after taking the medicine, have no malt sugar left. Seeing me lost in thought, he coughed softly. After that day, the bandits vanished without a trace. Now you are the only one who has seen their true faces. I know mentioning it now might stir up memories you'd rather forget. If you'd rather not talk about it now, rest for a few days. There's only me and the servants in the mansion. You can rest here in peace. I know that Liu Changya brought me back because I was the only one who survived the bandits. There's no need. I rubbed my eyes and looked at him firmly. I will never forget that man's face. Even if I die. I described it in detail. But Liu Changya's brows furrowed even more. It was so vague that even if he gave orders, there would be no clue to go on. I pondered carefully. Is there anyone skilled in painting among the prince's attendants? There was. But he has been away from the Imperial capital recently. I had planned to bring him back today, but he sent a message saying he would not return for some time. No other painters can capture his style as vividly as he does. Even if we were to find someone, it would be in vain. It would likely be a poor imitation, leaving us no closer to a solution. He was originally a man of the martial arts world. The court asking him to do this was already a great favor. Everything I thought of, he had already considered. Then we will wait for him to return, and I will explain everything again. Let him draw it, and we will make plans from there. Liu Changya sighed softly. In the past half-month, the case has made no progress. Those bandits haven't even shown their faces. I had hoped that after I woke up, I could provide some useful clues. But the painter has left the Imperial capital. It seems that this is the only option now. Liu Changya looked at me with determination in his eyes. Rest assured, I will definitely catch those people. I believe him. In the previous life, the case involving the Jiang family did not fall into Liu Changya's hands. It was said that he encountered obstacles on his way back to the capital to take up his post. By the time he became the head of the department, The case had already been handed over to someone else. That person was Song Qingran's father. Song Ji, the supervisor of the Ministry of Justice. Mr. Song. At the time, the case had been stalled for a long time, and I visited him multiple times. When he heard that I knew the true appearance of the bandit leader, Song Ji's expression changed. He accused me of lying and questioned why I had managed to escape alive. No one survived the bandits' raids. So why were you the only one to come out unscathed? Could it be that you have some unsavory connection with those bandits? And now you dare to come here and cry wolf? He used this excuse to detain me. Every day, they tortured me, forcing me to sign the confession. I don't know why, but it seemed like he wanted to pin the crime on me so he could wrap things up quickly. I thought I would die in prison, until one day I was released. The one who came to fetch me was Jiang Mingqi. As soon as I saw him, I hurriedly shared my suspicions. Is Song the official acting this way because? Before I could finish, he interrupted me with a harsh rebuke. How dare you speak such nonsense? You know you're only out today because Qingran pleaded with her father for a long time. If it weren't for my face, you wouldn't be alive. If you dare to speculate further, no one will be able to save your life. It turned out that Jiang Mingqi had seen me imprisoned for so long and had pleaded with Song Qingran to secure my release. Qingran is kind and generous, her father must be a fair and upright official. Who knows what you said that angered Song Deren, leading to this ordeal? I deliberately waited a few days before asking Qingran to intercede, hoping you would learn your lesson. Yet you remain unrepentant, slandering me with your words. He looked at me, his disgust growing more evident, as if he regretted saving me. If you keep talking nonsense, I can hand you over to Song Deren right now. Qingran's position in his heart has become even more secure. My body is covered in whip marks. The blood has dried on my skin, mingling with the filthy flesh and sticking to my prison clothes. Every movement causes excruciating pain, but it still can't compare to the despair I feel when I look at the expression on his face. At that time, we were already married. He saw me suffering in prison, yet he delayed rescuing me to teach me a lesson. His eyes seemed to hold both sighs and pain. Qingran, though already married, still harbored feelings for me and came to my rescue. She had no choice but to obey her father's orders and marry someone she didn't love, which is why we parted ways. I shouldn't have married. I should have stayed by her side for the rest of my life. In the end, it was I who wronged her. My husband, in front of me, was reminiscing about another woman, and he said he regretted marrying me. At that moment, I should have left. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring myself to be heartless in time. The next day, he spoke softly to me, and I softened my heart once more. After that, every time I mentioned my parents' case, he would fly into a rage. You are already fortunate to be alive. The dead are gone, why dwell on the past? A case the court cannot solve, what good does it do to obsess over it day after day? This concerns the lives of over a dozen members of the Jiang family. I obeyed him in everything, but I couldn't give in on this matter. I continued to go to the Ministry of Justice every day, only to be thrown out in disgrace each time. Jiang Mingqi grew even colder toward me. Just as our relationship had reached its lowest point, I became pregnant. It was an accidental conception after a night of drinking. He said, "We'll discuss everything after the child is born." At first, I refused to give up. But as my body grew heavier and the time drew near, I temporarily set aside my thoughts. On the day of childbirth, I gave birth to a boy. The child was weak, so Jiang Mingqi took him out to be examined, handing the child over to his biological father. I felt at ease. But to my surprise, less than an hour later, he returned to the delivery room with a grim expression. He said, "The child didn't survive. He's dead." He had been cold toward me for so long. But at that moment, he rarely softened his tone. The epidemic was rampant, and no one wanted this outcome. Don't be too sad. We'll have another child someday. I was already weak after giving birth. And upon hearing this news, my blood vessels spasmed, causing a hemorrhage, and so I followed the child in death. After burying the child, Jiang Qiming stood before the tombstone for a long time. He trembled as he revealed the truth. I thought the medicine would work. I truly believed it would work. I never intended to harm our child. Nor did I intend to harm you. It turned out that Song Qingran had contracted the plague and was near death. Jiang Qiming had promised he would save her. He developed a new medicine, but the effects were too powerful, and no one could guarantee the outcome. No one was willing to test it. So he fed it to the child. After taking it, the child's limbs convulsed, and soon he foamed at the mouth and died. Ming Yue, I'm truly sorry. In the next life, I'll make it up to you and the child. My soul, with nowhere to go, floated in the air and witnessed the truth. He killed me and the child with his own hands for Song Qingran. When I woke up again, I found myself back on the night I encountered the wolf pack. Even if I die, I will not accept his life-saving grace in vain. This life was exchanged for the life of my pitiful child. Fortunately, this case fell into the hands of Lu Changye. Lu Changye, who had returned, saw me with tears streaming down my face and was momentarily stunned. I snapped back to reality and hurriedly wiped away my tears. Is there something else the prince needs? He quickly lowered his gaze and stepped into the room. A package wrapped in oil paper was handed to me. There's nothing. I saw you might find it bitter. So I bought some. I opened it to look inside. It was a packet of malt sugar. After resting for a while at the Samshar mansion, the wounds on my back gradually healed. Without a portrait, the investigation was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Lu Changye feared that delaying the investigation further would make it even more difficult. So he led his men to search the mountains every day. During those days, though he was busy beyond measure, he always returned before sunset to dine with me. After finishing our meal, he would depart in haste. Everyone in the mansion treated me with great respect and took good care of me. The prince said that you are an honored guest and must be well taken care of. If you need anything, just let us know. Lu Changye's thoughtfulness gave my exhausted body and mind a brief respite. After observing him for a few days, I noticed that he couldn't sleep well at night. Perhaps there were too many things on his mind, making it easier for him to wake up at night. I followed the recipe my father had taught me and prepared a medicinal meal, which I brought to his study when he returned. The first time, he was surprised. You can make medicinal meals? I placed the tray down. My father taught me everything he knew, so you can use it with confidence. Mentioning my father, my tone carried a hint of sadness. Lu Changye picked up the bowl and sighed deeply. Dr. Jiang, with his compassionate heart, not only traveled to the border every year to distribute medicine and provide medical care to the soldiers, but also carried their letters back to the Imperial capital to distribute them to their families, and brought their replies back the following year. During times of war and chaos, a family letter was worth its weight in gold. Dr. Jiang did not just heal bodies, he also healed hearts. He looked at me, his gaze growing more resolute. Rest assured, as long as I am here, no one from the Jiang family will die unjustly. My father's kindness in the past has now blossomed into a sea of flowers. From that day onward, we formed an unspoken agreement. I delivered medicinal meals to him every day, and he slept more soundly each night. One day, someone reported seeing bandits in the mountains. He told me he couldn't come back to have dinner with me tonight and left in a hurry with his men. I didn't feel disappointed, only reminded him to be careful. After he left, I felt restless in the vast mansion. Since he wouldn't be back in time for dinner, I decided to go out for a walk. Since I was injured, I hadn't stepped out of the gates of the Samshire mansion. A walk would do me good. As I lingered in front of a shop, a startled cry rang out from behind me. Mingyue? Jiang Mingyue. Is that you? I turned around and met Jiang Mingqi's shocked gaze. He strode toward me and grabbed my wrist, looking somewhat distraught. You're not dead? I saved you back then. Why did you hide? You made me think you had already perished in the wolf's belly. Now that you've returned to the Imperial capital, why didn't you come looking for me? Where else could you possibly go now? Besides me? I struggled to pull my hand away and took a few steps back to create some distance between us. My destination is none of your concern. I had always been gentle with him, but my tone had never been so firm before. Even when he broke off our engagement and told me he had fallen in love with another woman, I forced a smile and blessed him, then returned home to cry in secret. My father and mother were furious and wanted to go find Jiang Mingqi to demand an explanation. It was I who cried and stopped them. The me of the past couldn't bear to see him in any kind of trouble. Now, I feel nothing but utter disgust. I never demanded that he honor the marriage agreement and marry me. It was he who, after his beloved had married another, proposed marriage to me. At the time, I was determined to seek justice for the Jiang family, but he opposed it, so I suggested a divorce. It was he who refused to budge. On the night our child was born, he came to my chamber drunk. He could have saved the person himself by testing the medicine. Instead, he took my son's life. Seeing my attitude, he paused for a moment. Then he frowned in displeasure. What are you causing trouble for now? I risked my life to save you. Yet you kept it from me after returning. Jiang Mingyue, do you have any conscience left? The one without a conscience is not me. He was about to scold me further when a soft, delicate voice interrupted him. Minggu, what's going on? Song Qingran walked over gracefully, standing beside him as if to assert her claim, and scrutinized me from head to toe. Upon seeing her, Jiang Mingqi hurriedly concealed his expression. This is Jiang Mingyue. The recent massacre was her family's. I saw that she had nowhere to go, so I happened to meet her and came over to ask. He ruthlessly tore open my wound, exposing it to the sun. Song Qingran has always known my identity. Her gaze grew even more disdainful. Your entire family is dead? How tragic. Minggu is kind-hearted, so it's only natural to ask. I suddenly clenched my fists. Realizing she had spoken out of turn, she covered her mouth and looked at Jiang Mingqi like a startled deer. I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn. Losing a family member is already painful enough. How could I? It's fine. Jiang Mingqi looked at her tenderly, his eyes brimming with affection. You've always been straightforward. What I value most about you is your sincerity. What you said was the truth. How could it be wrong? After comforting her, he turned to me, as if granting me a favor. Out of consideration for our past relationship, I cannot bear to see you sleeping on the streets. From now on, you may stay in my medical clinic and help me with some chores. There are only men there, and when Qing Ran becomes pregnant, it will be inconvenient. With you there, you can take care of her in my place. How can you say such things? Minggu? My father hasn't agreed yet. Rest assured, I will definitely persuade your father to let you marry me. I didn't want to hear any more nonsense and turned to leave. Jiang Mingqi shouted angrily behind me. Jiang Mingyue, don't be ungrateful. This imperial capital isn't an easy place to survive, especially now that the case hasn't been solved and the Jiang mansion is still under siege. Where do you think you'll go? Seeing that I didn't turn back, he clenched his teeth in anger. If you leave today, don't come begging me later. I was feeling troubled and stayed by the river until nightfall before returning home. Surprisingly, Lu Changye returned earlier than me. He was waiting at the mansion gate and rushed over as soon as he saw me. Qin Huasher is almost in the Imperial capital and will arrive tomorrow to paint. Hearing this news, the gloom in my heart vanished. Seeing the smile on my face, he reached out and brushed the fallen flowers from my shoulder. Are you happy? I was a bit surprised. How did you know I wasn't happy? Perhaps it was the moonlight playing tricks on me, but a hint of tenderness flickered at the corner of his lips. We've been together for so long. I think I understand you pretty well. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You're so innocent. His hand remained on my shoulder. For no apparent reason, my heart skipped a beat. I hid the blush on my face in the darkness. I walked around him and hurried into the mansion. I'm back a little late today, so you'll have to wait for your medicinal meal. Go to the study first. I'll bring it to you later. I had thought that things were about to take a turn for the better, but I never expected that something would happen that night. Ever since the incident at home, I had been sleeping very lightly. So when someone tiptoed and pushed open the door, I was already awake. At this hour, no one in the mansion would come to my room. Not knowing the other person's intentions, I dared not act rashly. I just closed my eyes and frantically calculated in my mind. The footsteps grew closer. They stopped by the bed. Suddenly, the person swiftly pulled back the blanket. I suddenly opened my eyes and rolled to the side. The dagger narrowly missed where I had been lying. Damn you! You bitch! How dare you toy with me? The person was wearing a face mask, so I couldn't see their face. All I could see was the murderous intent in their eyes as they lunged toward me. I quickly slipped out through the gap beside me. Just as my arm was about to touch the door, he grabbed my hair from behind and roughly pulled me back. The excruciating pain of my scalp being torn made me scream out loud, but he quickly covered my mouth with his hand. You could have died silently and painlessly, but you didn't choose that. You dared to betray me. He tightened his grip on my neck while raising the dagger again with his other hand. In my moment of despair, a sudden burst of flames erupted outside. The commotion inside the house had finally alerted the people in the mansion. The door was kicked open, sending it flying in all directions. Lu Changye withdrew his foot and, seeing my current state, his gaze suddenly turned fierce. What is this? You dare to trespass into my official residence. Let him go immediately. Perhaps I might spare your worthless life. Behind Lu Changye stood a group of masked guards. Each of them drew their bows and aimed their arrows at the man. The man was startled and dragged me up, using me as a shield. The dagger in his hand pressed firmly against my throat. Soon, a trail of blood appeared there. Seeing this, Lu Changye raised his hand. The archers behind him lowered their bows. Seeing that I seemed important to Lu Changye, the man grew even more daring. Lu Si sure. I came here tonight to take her life. I have no intention of opposing you. Either let me take her with me, or let us die together. Seeing that Lu Changye remained silent, he thought he had found his weakness. He tightened his grip on the dagger, his mouth filled with threats. If you don't make way, she'll die right now. He grew increasingly arrogant, unconsciously revealing half of his face. Lu Changye's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he raised his hand, shooting the hidden arrow from his sleeve. The short arrow whizzed past my ear and directly pierced the forehead of the person behind me. I was thrown backward by the momentum, landing in a warm embrace. The room suddenly brightened. Lu Changye's men knelt down and tore off the mask covering the man's face. It was an unfamiliar face. He sighed regretfully, if only we could have spared his life. Lu Changye shot him a glance, and he immediately lowered his head and fell silent. I felt guilty, but he gently stroked my back to comfort me. You're okay. He saved me again. Lu Changye applied medicine to the wound on my neck while speaking slowly. Recently, several painters in the imperial capital have been murdered. Qin the painter was also ambushed on his way back to the capital. But fortunately, he was skilled and had guards I sent to protect him. So he escaped unharmed. And now, someone tried to kill you tonight. It seems someone doesn't want the true identity of that bandit leader to be exposed. I was startled. Then who is this person? Lu Changye snapped back to reality, looking at my anxious expression and soothing me softly. Whoever it is, we'll find out tomorrow. Rest assured. I'll protect you and never let you get into danger again. I didn't notice when my hand had been taken into his palm. I snapped back to reality and realized I was only wearing a thin nightgown. The cloak draped over me was the one he had taken off his own body to wrap me in. His scent filled my entire body, and my hand was clenched tightly in his palm. My heart was pounding wildly, making me want to escape unconsciously. Lu Changye didn't give me the chance. He noticed my struggle and gripped my hands even tighter. His gaze was intense, as if stars were shining in his eyes. When I first brought you back, it was indeed because you were the only witness. My duty was to protect you. Upon hearing of your ordeal, my initial intention was to seek justice for you. In the days since, your presence in the mansion has brought a new vitality to the place. When I am away, I always think of the person waiting for me there. My eyes unconsciously follow you, and you have grown increasingly important to me. Seeing you with that man tonight, my only thought was to protect you. I feared I would no longer be able to bring you malt sugar or drink the medicinal soup you prepared with your own hands. Though my father is a prince, I am the heir to his title. Yet I have spent my life guarding the borders by his side. I know nothing of how men in the imperial capital court the women they desire. I know that if I love someone, I can be with them. I am not good with words, so I can only speak my mind honestly. If you are willing, I will take care of you from now on. His sincerity made me lose all thoughts of retreat. It turned out that all the cautious glances I had given him over the past few days had been cherished by him. I had intended to smile and agree. For some reason, my eyes felt warm. I pouted my lips. The first time we met, you were holding a sword to me. I'm the kind of person who holds a grudge. If you don't treat me well in the future, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. He suddenly let out a breath of relief and smiled as he pulled me into his arms. Of course. That night, Lu Changming stayed by my side all night, separated by a screen. The next day, Qin the painter carefully drew the man's likeness based on my description. I knew it was him the moment I saw it. The portrait was so lifelike. Lu Changye's expression darkened as he asked me if I was certain. I nodded firmly. He tried to assault me before I could act, but I managed to tear off his face mask in the struggle. Enraged, he tried to kill me, but my mother stepped in and blocked several of his blows for me. Seeing my voice choke up, Lu Changye's eyes betrayed a hint of pity. Qin Huasher was still there, so he didn't have time to comfort me. Thank you, Qin Huasher. Please stay in the imperial capital for a while longer. Once everything is settled, I will properly thank you. Qin Huasher waved his hands repeatedly. Forget it. Working for the imperial court means risking your life. I've already helped you enough. It's time for me to live a carefree life. Don't bother me anymore. After Qin Huasher left, Lu Changye embraced me tightly. Don't worry. The truth will soon be revealed. Lu Changye busied himself. He was afraid I would dwell on things alone. So he sent a group of men to secretly protect me. Once I've resolved the case, I'll take you away from the imperial capital for a while. Don't stay cooped up in the mansion, go out and explore. I was bored alone, so I agreed to his suggestion. To my surprise, I encountered Jiang Mingqi again. Today, he didn't seem as confident as last time. When he saw me, A glimmer of light flashed in his gloomy expression. Ming Yue. In this world, are you the only one who won't leave me? According to the timeline of my previous life, this was the time when Song Qingran was engaged to the son of the wealthiest man in the Imperial capital. It seems that while some things have changed in this life, some things remain the same. I felt as though I were looking at a stranger. On the day you proposed the annulment of our engagement, our relationship had already ended. How could there be any talk of leaving? Jiang Mingqi didn't expect me to speak to him this way. He couldn't keep the woman he loved. And now even I was drawing a line between us. It was Song Qingran who had hurt him. Yet he vented all his anger on me. Jiang Mingyue, how have you become this person? He looked at me with nothing but disappointment in his eyes. When I heard you had escaped, I risked my life to save you. I know you've always loved me, and I was wrong to betray you. But you don't have to speak to me like this. I know you're just jealous. Now that Qingran has found her place, we are both alone. I am willing to fulfill our original marriage vows and marry you. I shook my head with a smile. Who is like you? I have a man I love, who treats me exceptionally well and keeps me close to his heart. He has saved me from danger countless times and chose me firmly, rather than settling for someone else. You didn't save me that night, so there's no need to repay me with favors. He stared at me in disbelief. You're lying. You clearly loved me. When I told you I had fallen for Qingran, you pretended to be okay. But you secretly hid your sadness. You couldn't possibly love someone else. He grew more and more agitated, stepping forward to grab my wrist. I know you're angry that I canceled the engagement without your consent. Now that I've agreed to marry you, how long do you intend to hold a grudge? If you continue to act this way, don't blame me for not giving you another chance. Before he could finish, the secret agent following me kicked him in the chest. Jiang Mingqi flew backward like a kite with its string cut. Seeing that I was safe, the man breathed a sigh of relief. Then he stared intently at Jiang Mingqi, who was lying on the ground in a sorry state. You dare to touch the emperor's official? The magistrate? Lu Changye, the son of Prince Qi? The newly appointed magistrate of the Imperial capital's guard? No. This can't be. Ming Yue, how could you be his man? You should be mine. You won't leave me. I turned and walked away, ignoring his desperate cries. I thought he wouldn't come back. But after finding out where I was staying, he started showing up every day. He said nothing, just stood guard at the gate of the magistrate's mansion. When he saw me, he rushed over eagerly. He refused to believe that I would abandon him. Lu Changye was busy with official duties, but he heard about this from the servants in the mansion. Rarely, he managed to return early one day. Coincidentally, he encountered Jiang Mingqi blocking the entrance. He shielded me behind him and kicked Jiang Mingqi with all his strength. Jiang Mingqi spat out a mouthful of blood and trembled as he spoke. What does your noble status matter? I don't believe there's no justice in this imperial capital. Mingyue was my betrothed wife who hadn't yet married. Even if you come from a prominent family, you have no right to take her from me. Lu Changye looked down at him from above, as if he were looking at an ant. After betraying me, you dare to mention our former engagement? Don't think I don't know that you already broke off the engagement for that Song family's daughter. If you dare to come within a step of Mingyue again, I guarantee you'll die a miserable death. Jiang Mingqi never appeared again. 3 days later, Lu Changming hurriedly replied. As soon as he entered the door, he embraced me. Mingyue, we found those bandits and the mastermind behind them. It turns out the bandits weren't real bandits at all, they were people trained by Song Ji. They were disguised as bandits to rob and plunder, and everything they stole was used as private property for the Song family. Upon learning I was still alive, they were brought into the mansion by Lu Changye. Song Ji grew panicked. He arranged for that person to leave the imperial capital. Uncertain, he sent men to ambush Qin. When that failed, he sent assassins to kill me. All attempts were unsuccessful. He still clung to a sliver of hope. That person was someone he had secretly trained, who had never been seen in the imperial capital. He was gambling that no one would recognize his true appearance. But it just so happened that this person was Liu Changye. Years ago, when he returned to the capital, he had seen the two of them in a narrow alley. Though many years had passed, the man had grown haggard, but his general appearance had not changed. He immediately reported the entire matter truthfully to the emperor. However, the man had already fled, and Songji had destroyed all the evidence. Therefore, they had no leads to act on. They sent men to secretly monitor Songji day and night. Finally, when he let his guard down, believing the situation was safe, they went to find him. This time, they caught him red-handed. Thus, all the events of the previous life have found their answers. If it weren't for Song Qingran wanting to keep Jiang Mingqi's heart and promising to spare me, I would likely have died in the dungeons of the Ministry of Justice. Songji has always doted on his only daughter. The case fell into his hands, and with him suppressing it, I couldn't stir up any trouble. This also fulfilled Song Qingran's wish. As the head of the Dali Temple, Songji had already secured a life of wealth and honor. Why? Why did he still? Liu Changye fell silent, only holding me tighter. Human hearts are greedy. How many people have lost their true selves? He couldn't give me an answer either. The emperor was enraged. Those people were all executed. The Song mansion was raided. All the male descendants were sentenced to death, and the women were exiled to Lingnan, never to return to the capital. The grudge against the Jiang family has finally been avenged in this lifetime. I buried my head in Liu Changming's chest, sobbing uncontrollably. If only I had met him sooner. On the day Song Qingran was exiled to Lingnan, Jiang Mingqi appeared again. He looked at me, his eyes filled with guilt and regret. I'm sorry, Ming Yue. I didn't know the Song family was such a ruthless and evil clan. Song Qingran deceived me back then. I truly didn't know they were the ones who ruined your entire family. Now that I regret it. Is it too late? Before I could speak, Liu Changye appeared. He used his sword to tell Jiang Mingqi, "It's useless." Having solved the case that had been weighing on his heart, the emperor was overjoyed. He asked Liu Changye what reward he desired. I told my uncle, "You are the best reward I could ask for." I had been worried about the difference in our statuses and that there would be no future between us. But to my surprise, he directly requested an imperial edict. At the wedding, his father also returned. As he had said, Prince Qi was very cheerful and pleased with me. After staying in the capital for several months, Prince Qi was about to return to the border. Coincidentally, Liao spies had been frequently appearing in the imperial capital, so the emperor sent Liu Changye to investigate thoroughly. I also prepared to accompany him. According to the timeline of my previous life, the plague would break out in 2 months. It would spread to the imperial capital in a short time, resulting in a devastating scene. The source of the outbreak was the border. In my previous life, I was unaware and unable to intervene. Now that I knew, I couldn't betray my father's intention when he taught me medicine. Sure enough, the epidemic began to spread at the border. With prior knowledge, I quickly took measures with my team. We managed to contain the infected within a small group. Liu Changye was also busy, not only uncovering spies active at the border. In the process, he also discovered that the epidemic was not a natural disaster. It was deliberately orchestrated by them. Once the infected were contained, we no longer had to worry about large-scale spread. Among the doctors who had rushed to the scene, I caught a glimpse of a pair of familiar eyes. I was busy preparing medicine and didn't think much of it. By the time everything was over, only one doctor had been infected and died. That person was quite peculiar, saying he had come for the princess's sake, as a form of atonement. He also mentioned that the sins of his previous life were being repaid in this one. I couldn't tell if he was suffering from hysteria. I didn't look back, out of fear of infection. I hadn't seen Lu Changye for a long time. He would come to the door every night to keep me company. Through the wall, my longing grew stronger. Fortunately, we would see each other tomorrow. Early the next morning, as soon as the quarantine ended, Lu Changye rushed in first. He held me in his arms, unwilling to let go. Are we returning to the Imperial capital? Or do you want to stay here? My hand rested on his waist. It's almost the anniversary of my parents' passing. Please accompany me back to pay our respects. Lu Changye held me tighter. All right. In this lifetime, I have finally fulfilled my greatest wish. And Lu Changye is an unexpected bless.